You can't take it with you when you're gone, so how do you make the most of it while you are here? It's time for Your Money Matters with Sam and Dieter from Harness Financial.
Well, just Dieter today because Sam is off on the lam again down in Queenstown, isn't he, Dieter?
And famous.
Okay, so you always miss the meeting. You don't get the memo. You don't get the trip to Queenstown, right?
I can't ski, so I think that excludes me.
Oh, so how nice. How nice for some. You've got a mate here, Steve Smith.
Yeah, we've got Steve here from New Zealand Business Brokers.
All right, and we're talking about buying or selling a business, which people do as they go through the plan of life that you've given them, right, Dieter?
Very much so. So what we thought about this morning is really New Zealand is the home of the small, medium enterprises, entrepreneurs. It's incredible the spirit that is here when it comes to starting a business. But, we start off with passion, a vision, energy, skills, and but we don't always begin with the end in mind. So we go out there, we build something, and then we suddenly go, well, what do we do now when the body gives up or it's time to move on or chase your personal stuff you want to do. So I think Steve here has got quite a bit of experience when it's helping people go through that move from being business owners to exiting in the best, strongest possible way. So Steve, from your side, you've obviously helped a lot of people. So what are some of the things that you've seen and some of the things pitfalls that people have fallen into?
That's an interesting question. Often people don't realise they need an exit plan. It's always do the business, keep doing the business, and they're great at that. What they don't realise is that at some point they need to retire, or there'll be some life situation that changes for them, and they have to exit. So whether that's illness, death, emigration, those are also things people need to consider. So what we want to help people do is sometimes plan ahead, plan a couple of years out what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. Recent examples, someone's ill health. So we have to deal with what we're faced with there and then. And luckily he had the foresight to do some of the things that we tell our business owners to do, which is plan ahead, understand your financial future and what it looks like.
Often in life, disagreements and things happen when there's a mismatch of expectations. So we build a business, it's our baby, it's our life. We think it's worth a huge amount of money, and we are surprised when other people don't see what we see. Also, that other people see what we don't see when it comes to what it looks like on the outside. So how have you dealt and how some of those mismatched expectations, how have you seen that play out with people?
Yeah, people always have an expectation that their business is worth a lot. The number always jumps out is, I've got $1 million business. And what we have to do is help people understand that might be the case, but it also might not be. And we have to work with them. My approach is always to work through the numbers with the business owner so they can see firsthand.
Steve, I've just got you through. What is the rule of thumb for valuing a business? So
there's a few.
Yeah.
Okay, there are certain businesses where there is a rule of thumb, there's a formula, particularly hotels, motels. Then you've got services like an accountant. It depends on the mix of customers or clients that they have. Otherwise, we use multipliers. But even then, those multipliers change depending on the type of business, the size of business, the future maintainable earnings. Everything gets considered. So there's just not one factor.
Because for various reasons, having started my own business for the first time 3 years ago, I'm wondering too, though, whether selling a business is always the best option for a small business if an exit plan might not be more realistically if the person who drives that business and it's based around that person isn't to figure out how to, over time, disengage and wind down the business to move on to the next stage of your life. And I know that doesn't do you much help as a business broker, but in some instances, should people have that as their exit, more realistic and kind of less traumatic exit strategy?
Oh, absolutely. And look, yeah, I'm a business broker. I earn my money from selling businesses. But at the same time, I want to help people. So we do get approached by lots of people. And then as we get into the process, we realize that for them, this isn't an option. If they're able to pass the business on in the family, put a manager in place, that might be a better option. I'd rather do that than force them down a route that they don't want to go. And hopefully they recognise that that's my professionalism coming through, saying this is the right answer for you. There are other options out there.
But I also think there's an aspect of what you're doing is you're replacing an income stream. So if you don't, you either need to do that through continued dividends drawdown as a sort of arm's length owner or on the board, or you've got to sell it for an asset for a capital amount that can generate a passive income. But the passive income is what needs to be in your bank account when you're no longer earning other incomes. So that needs to be enough to achieve your lifestyle goals. And so either option is replacing an income. So if there's no income, then, well.
Yeah. And when should people, Dieter, because I know, okay, come back, you've got to have a plan. Dieter's the guy with the plan. When should people start planning for this? Presumably not when you have to do it. You should do it before you have to do it, or have in your mind how you're going to do it.
So always work backwards, again, with that begin with the end in mind. So at what point do you want the option to? Then you need to work out what is that passive income, and then you need to build up towards a point where you achieve it. Now, if that's building a business to a valuation that'll be worth an set amount of capital, or whether that's someone else that runs the business, but the earlier you can do it, the better. But you definitely don't want to do a year out. And the other thing which I find quite interesting, and I was listening to a thing about professional rugby players who spend their life in a certain framework structure, and when they exit that, they lost.
Yeah.
So
Quite a lot of people working with rugby players now to help that transition and give them a life plan past sport.
Yep. And the same applies if you sell your business.
All right. Steve, how much does it cost? How much do you charge?
Not much.
No. Good salesman.
We get asked this all the time. How much do we charge? Actually, it's not about how much we charge. It's about whether we can do the job and whether we can sell your business and whether we sell it for the right price.
Yeah.
What you want is our expertise.
Yeah.
So it's not the first thing of any conversation I have with a business owner. It's getting faith in me, trusting each other, understanding that we can work together through this process, knowing that I'm there to protect them and to help them and bring them into the next stage of their life, whatever that adventure is going to be.
Okay. Now, I could have even done better for this guy. He's just texted in. Just sold my business on November and retired to the South Island. The brokerage fee was 9%. About right?
Yeah, about right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And the incentive is that the more you sell it for, the more that 9% is, eh?
Well, that's the point. You can go sell it yourself and end up with 20% less.
Yeah.
So think about what is the net number.
Yeah. I think you've already indicated the most common pitfall for people and not having good experiences, their expectation of worth their business is too high, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is that. The reason why you use professional, it's like you don't service your own car unless you know what you're doing.
Yeah,
But, you come to us because we are here to protect and help you understand what it is you're selling. Because a lot of people don't understand, okay, I've got a business, I earn X hundreds of thousands of dollars from it per year, this is what I do, that's what I'm selling. And then you're not. Are you selling a company? Are you selling an investment? Are you selling a lifestyle? There are different things that need to be accounted for, because if you then pitch it wrong, we won't find the right person to buy it.
And you get one good chance, best chance is your first chance?
Pretty much sometimes, yeah. Look, ideally, I would say that the buyer often presents themselves in the first 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And we have to reach out to them to get their interest. We can do that various mediums. Radio is absolutely one of them.
Yeah.
And we have to find the people that aren't looking or don't know they're looking, and we have to tell them that's what we're there for. That's the job we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that we only get one chance to work with those people to make sure that we've pitched it.
Yeah. Russ has just texted in. Russ, you've just heard the answer to that. Around 9% seems to be a relative industry standard for a business brokerage fee. Russ just asked, I'd like to know the cost of selling a business. Yeah. And look, the other thing is buying a business. And I'm just trying to get the trajectory of small business in New Zealand. Most of them start up with an individual having an idea and building the business, and then they sell out to someone else. Who are the people who are buying into established small to medium enterprises? Are they corporates, Or do you have people coming to you, Dennis, geez, I'd like to buy a business, or I'd like to buy a motel, or I'd like to have a little business that I can run?
Well, I've had a couple of examples of all of those. So it's usually there's something that happens in life where you want to change in your lifestyle. You don't want to have just the security and a paycheck. You actually want the independence, freedom, and something to build.
Yeah.
So for me, I worked in companies in South Africa, and when I got here, I didn't want to build someone else's business anymore.
Yeah. Actually,
So-
yeah, you're an example. Yeah.
So here I was like, well, I'm not doing that again, because you walk away with a paycheck after PAYE, and that's it. Where you could have an asset, you could have something you can put your life into that's worth something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, so do you have people come and you say, go and talk to Steve, he might find a business you can buy or get into? Does it work that way as well?
Yes.
Two-way street?
Two-way street.
Yeah.
And just something else that Steve said the other day, which I found quite interesting, is we're blind to our own flaws.
Yeah.
So I don't often say this, but physical looks matter.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and if you look at a business from the outside, you've walked into places and people looking to buy a business go and look at what the vehicles look like. Look at what the garden outside looks like. Is it showing that it's got care and love into it?
Yeah. And the phrase I often use when I talk to business owners, I said, the best form of defense is offense. I said, if we pitch it right, the right number, and we present it correctly, the less negotiation there is. And that's what we want. We want to be able to say, this is the business, this is what it does, this is what it will give you. So when the buyer looks at it, everything's presented. If there is something wrong, we fix it. If we can't, at least we're upfront and honest about it.
And you own it, because I imagine that would be the kiss of death to a business deal. Oh, that figure isn't quite what it was, or someone's massaged that a little bit to make the business look better. The old pump and dump.
If I told them it was perfect, and then they rock up, have a look around the premises and go, Steve, what's this, what's that? The window's broken. And it can be something as simple as the window's broken or there's a dent in the van. They go, that's money.
Yeah.
And if they negotiate, they will start at a lower position than I would, obviously.
Okay, here's another question from a listener. I'm building a digital business at the moment. Do you have experience with that type of business? Is there an increasing demand for this type of business? So I presume by digital, Tina means online or something in the digital space.
There is. And it depends on what it is, how you're doing it, and how many people are involved. I think we need to understand that there's a difference between what a business is. There are so many levels. There's an owner-operator where there's one person, maybe a casual staff. There's maybe an owner-operator who's got 3 or 4 employees, and there might be a business with a layer of management as well. So it's understanding what it is. Creating a digital business, often what we see is it's 1 or 2 people doing it. And if they leave, there is no business. That's the other thing you need to understand. If the actual owner is no longer in the business, is there anything to keep going?
Yeah. Another thing I've found, which is, from a digital point of view, you've got to think about your digital footprint as an asset. So have you got good ranking? Have you got security around what you own, the domains? Do you have good feedback out there? If no one knows you're online, then your valuation of that sort of business goes down.
Yeah. Well, I must admit, after 3 years in business with the platform, we're now reassessing who we are, what we look as a corporate profile. I feel like we're getting treated differently because we have survived. So we start our planning in a completely different headspace than 3 years ago when we were starting up. It was, geez, wonder if this will work, which it appears to have. Do we have any idea every year how many small businesses are sold, folded, acquired, started up in the country?
Well, I think this year the number was break even in terms of the number of business that started was the same as the number of business that folded.
Okay.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Because what people don't realize is the business is an asset. It's probably worth something.
Yeah.
So if you are able to, sell it.
Yeah.
You know, if I walked up to you and said, here's $100,000, you'd take it.
I'd tell you to bugger off. Put another zero on it. Another couple of zeros. Steve, how many do you have business brokers? You're a nationwide organisation. How many business transactions, buying or selling, would you be involved in a year?
depends on the size, but it can be anything from, I suppose, 7 to 10.
Yeah.
We like to not pick and choose, but we like to be professional and give our time to each one to make sure that it's a success.
And do good deals.
Yes.
Yeah. Dita, for people who do have a small business, think you're setting one up or think you're buying one or exiting one, they can come and talk to you about the plan, and then you can put them in touch with these guys.
Yeah, very, very much so. We will understand the context of where it fits in, and then we will bring in the specialists.
Yeah, which you do on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And remind people, how do they get hold of Harness Financial?
On our website, harnessfinancial.co.nz, or call me directly in 021 0268 7955.
All right. Steve, I'd like to thank you for coming on. I might talk to you in 7 years.
Okay.
I might come and talk to you in 7 years. Hopefully it'll be a huge deal. It's Steve Smith from Business Brokers. And Steve, you got a website, Business Brokers?
Yeah, we're nzbusinessbrokers.co.nz.
Okay. Here, someone. See, I just thought I'd wait on. I have a scaffolding subcontracting business in the construction industry. Last year, obviously, was a shocker. However, we do have a large asset base. How would our business be valued? Thanks, Miles.
Spoken to a few scaffolding businesses in the past. Often, that'll be an asset sale. So we would look at the value of the asset.
Yeah.
And then we need to do a bit of market research on that. But what I do know with scaffolding is that when a business looks to expand, they buy more scaff.
Okay. All right.
And they know that if they spend X dollars, they'll earn tenfold back on that.
So their hardware's worth something. The scaffolding
Yeah.
they've got. There you go. There's your answer, Miles. And I know, damn you, because we're going to end the session now, and then I'm going to have a whole lot of questions about business that I know nothing about. But that's always the way. That was another edition of
Your Money Matters with Sam and Dita from Harness Financial. To make the most out of your money, visit harnessfinancial.co.nz.